She's gonna introduce herself in 1 more minute. And the topic today is driving impact. We're gonna talk about ICE, North Star metric, and ecosystem strategies. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, raise your hand. You can leave it also in the chat section. We're gonna go through it, and welcome once again. Edgar, over to you if you have anything.
Yes, Gabby. Hey, hello everyone. So today's topic, I believe it's going to be interesting to see, especially because some of these techniques I feel might work not only for product management, but rather I can see some of these might work for our daily lives, and I'm pretty eager to know more about them. So that being said, I welcome Maite. Thank you for being here with us, and over to you. Looking forward to get started.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. So you already know my name, Maite. I am from Ecuador, South America. So I started this career 7 years ago, mostly through hands-on experience, attempting to develop a solution for my dad's patient's records. Although that didn't see the light because they often do not the first time, but that experience ignited me to the path towards helping small and medium businesses, like with automation solutions, which was really fun and fulfilling. And later I pivoted to the restaurant industry, where we offer online ordering solutions, and it's been a blast helping them boost their online sales. And I recently had delved into the wellness sector. So this movie is particularly exciting because it's still like a blue ocean in this market. And yeah, like you said, I will add that product management is not just for PMs or, but for anyone, since it provides like this foundation for pursuing anything that you want to achieve, basically.
Amazing. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you have something to show, and if not, then I have some initial questions. So, wherever you want to proceed.
If I can share my screen. So I prepared this deck. Just let me know when you can see my screen.
I think we can see it.
Awesome. Okay, just hold on 1 second. Okay. So I would love to start with an analogy. I'm not sure if you can see like they're playing with the subject. Yeah, okay, awesome. So I would love to start with an analogy. Like imagine you're traveling to an exciting destination. You've bought your ticket, boarded the plane, and everyone is thrilled about the trip. But there's one issue. No one knows where they're going, right? So without a clear destination, the excitement turns into confusion, right? So this is where having a vision comes to play. Knowing where you're headed. Let's say we're going to Spain, right? If you know where we're heading, then there's clarity, there's excitement, and everyone is talking about this. Like, for example, I don't know, let's go to this place, or let's do this first. Okay, now let's picture that we are parents and we're taking our children to this place. So as a parent, how are we going to deliver value for my children, right? There may be a better example, but to quantify it, it could be number of unforgettable experiences I can provide to my family. And this could be our North Star metric. Okay, now, in product management, our clear destination is represented by the vision and is quantifiable by what is called the North Star metric. I know that this talk starts with the ICE, but it is best to start with the North Star. Like, where are we going? What do we know that it is key to our success. So this single metric captures the core value we aim to deliver to our users. Okay, so wait, where am I? Yeah. Before delving into the content, I would like to tell you the tour. So the first destination is the value exchange loop. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. The North Star metric, the top metric, the other metric that matter, and then our second destination is prioritization ICE framework. In particular, there are a few prioritization frameworks, but I'm going to talk a little bit about ICE. And then the third destination is ecosystem strategies, and then we can go back home. And that is our agenda today. Okay, the value exchange loop. All right, I'm gonna start here, kind of breaking down these visuals. So on one side, we have the market, right? A niche with a problem that needs a solution, right? Between the organization and the market, we have the product, right? Okay, now when we have that product in between, which, you know, embodied the product or service, what really unites these two, I mean, the organization and the market, is the organization's effort or the business effort to deliver as much value as possible to the market while capturing as much value back through this product. Okay, so I wanted to start with this because I know probably everyone knows this concept, but before going to the North Star, there is this base, right? The business providing something to the market. So the metric that is used to measure the value delivered is called the North Star metric, as you can see here, right? And then when the organization is trying to capture that value, that is called the top KPI or the top business metric, right? And that is referred to, if you can guess, that can be, if you can guess, similar to revenue or profit, right? Like, what is the business trying to capture? And if I can name, I don't know, some familiar examples, it could be in the case of Spotify, that is more focused on engagement. Is time spent listening to music, or in the case of Netflix, is time spent watching streaming content. In the case of Airbnb, that is more transactional based, number of nights booked. For Uber, number of rides per week. So that's like their North Star metric for you to kind of have an example on the table. And that metric is informed by input metrics, right? Which kind of break down and help us understand the factors leading to the North Star metric. So it's kind of a formula. And the top KPI or the top business metric is what, again, the organization expect to get in terms of revenue and profit, right? It could be, for example, ARR, annual recurring revenue, or net revenue, or profit, or ARPU, I mean, average revenue per user. So that's like the top KPI. No one mentions like a lot about the top KPI, but you know, you can feel it because it's like that pressure in the organization to, you know, to get to your numbers. And this everything that I've said helps with alignment because the entire organization is focused on moving those two metrics. So the mission of the organization represent the top objective, and these two kind of the top key results, right? Okay.
So before we move to another slide, Maite, Could you tell us a bit more, like based on your experience, how does this look like in real life? For example, in any of the companies that you have worked for, did you guys implement this North Star metric? And
Yeah.
how did that look like?
Yeah. To be honest with you, is fun to do because you can unite the whole ecosystem. So for example,
Mhm.
you have, in the case of online ordering, you have the partners, not the third parties, because those play like a different game. But in this case, that is like a SaaS, you have like your partners in play, for example, the POS providers, and you have of course, the restaurant, the main value that you're providing for them. So you kind of unite those dots and kind of have your, again, the input metrics and then the output metric, which is the North Star metric. So in my case, it's number of orders per week. Okay, why not per week? I mean, why not per month, for example, or a day? Because it wouldn't represent the ideal number that, in this case, not the end user, but the customer wants to get. So it's a one number to understand if they're increasing or decreasing what they're trying to get from us through that product. So yeah, it's something, I mean, it doesn't require like this huge technical experience or knowledge to get to your North Star. And to be honest with you, it can apply to any business, even though it is a product or a service, because if it's not measured, then how are you going to improve the operation or the business or the results or where you want to get. So yeah, that's the answer. Yeah.
Okay. And what about, I imagine that in this case, we are having this Star metric as one of the main goals, or rather the main goal that we are trying to achieve externally, right? That we are providing to the market. But have you been in any situation where this metric changes? I mean, like, or is it like always the same for the entire life of the organization? How does that work?
Yeah, no, the North Star never changes. So it's kind of, I mentioned that a little bit further from this, but so yeah, the North Star is supposed to be like fixed. It never changes, like infinite, because it survives as the life cycle of the business itself. So it can change. For example, another one metric that matter that I mentioned in the index, that can change because it's project based. But in the case of the North Star, there's always, like the word mentions, that you're always trying to move that needle. You're always trying to increase that, always through experimentation or optimization. And then you have like, again, submetrics. So for example, you want to increase, I don't know, your net promoter score, customer satisfaction, or lower the time in the customer support. But they're always supposed to feed the North Star. They're always supposed to like give the light to this key metric, because that is the main way to measure the value that I'm providing to our users mainly. And of course, it's like a loop, right? This is a loop. What I'm that in this visual. So in this case, if you understand that, then that can lead you to grow. If of course there are another factors about it. So for example, resources, team, the empowerment that the team has with the project. But if you have this well structured, then that can lead you to growth, basically.
Okay, so we can pretty much summarize it as one number, right? That we are all trying to achieve across the organization, and that we are measuring constantly, so it can lead us to achieve our vision as a company. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. So for example, So this is like the structure is an example, just like the top KPI, the North Star, and when you try to merge these two, you have these metrics that can that you can see in the middle in the two colors that are really important, because that way you can kind of tackle both of the metrics. So here you have an example. So for example, let's say your North Star is documents created, and your breakdown is the active users and the, wait, I can't see because of our faces, documents per active users, and that breakdown into documents per active per month, and then activity lifetime. And then on the other hand, you have the revenue, and then the average license price, active customers, and then it breaks in license sold and churn rate. So that way you can have your always, I mean, you can use a dashboard, you can even use like a sheets, or maybe something that can be integrated with your SQL database, or, you know, to extract that data and kind of always be updated on what's happening in the business. So is this increasing or no? Did I do something that work, or it's not working? So that's kind of, again, like the essential part when you know that something that you do is working or not. For example, Google is discontinuing Jamboard. So let's say they have this criteria, their North Star, their metrics or whatever, and let's say market share is important for them, is a metric for them. So that they don't have enough market share for that type of product, and it doesn't align with their objective. I mean, long-term speaking. So that's when they say, you know, let's put it to sunset. It doesn't work. So that's like when you can make decisions based on data, you know, informed decisions. So yeah.
Okay. And what happens if we are using these metrics to drive, you know, like the products and pretty much the organization in real life? How do you show this to the participants in the organization, like the employees or other stakeholders? Is it like a report that you would share every week, or is it like a internal website where you can see the metric continuously? How do you get to see these metrics and keep everyone updated on the progress?
Yeah.
How does
So
that happen? Mhm.
yeah, there are a few ways. You can over communicate it, to be honest, because in, you know, in the day-to-day, people are always busy with their, can you hear me? Hello?
Mhm.
Okay, so I think that we paused for a second. So yeah, it depends. So for example, there are these transparent companies that show the numbers to each of the employees, so they're kind of able to present ideas. There are other ones that are more they don't show those numbers. I don't know why, but those are the culture, right? It depends. Because they're kind of jealous with their core products. I don't know. I just read that about that that they're really like kind of secretive about it. But well, in my case, it's not like, hey, this is our number today. It's more like on a regular basis, yes, but not like day to day. And you know, it really depends on the type of business, because, and also the number of employees that the company have, because if it's a startup, then you have first fires to put down. So you're just thinking of paying technical debt or kind of providing a great service. That pretty much putting down fires. But the proper way to put it is first, but that's like a whole nother animal. Get to, in the startup world, get to PMF, product market fit. But that's again another subject. And then once you have everything in order, you can measure that. Because if you're not providing value, then what's the sense of, building a whole product and providing a service? So it depends on the company and the validation of the product. It depends. That's the answer. So again, I read about this company that they were full transparent and showing the dashboard with the key metric with their key metrics for all of the organization, like 500 employees. And then another one that had a bad, I mean, the CEO had a bad experience because someone stole some kind of, it's a compliance matter, but he wouldn't show anything to anyone anymore, but because of this trauma that he had. So it really depends, but for me, the best practice is to be transparent about it. These are our numbers, this is where we're trying to get. If you can have a dashboard to present those graphics and say, we were here last week, we're here this week. In the case of number of orders, let's say it's I don't know, 1,000 today and it's 2,000 next week. Awesome. But if it's still 1,000, then what's happening? It's an example, but for me, the best way to put it is to always be transparent about what's happening in the company in terms of what we're providing and in terms of what we're getting, basically. And when someone asks, for example, why don't we work on this? And let's say team A and then team B says, well, that's a great idea. And then there's just X resources. So let's go with the idea of team A or team B. But if you have this model, the one that I presented, then there's clarity. So maybe team B is going to say, you know what, team A is a better idea. So let's work on that idea. Let's say it's a huge experiment to kind of move that needle of those two metrics, because you have that model in mind. You know what you need to work on. Yeah. And
Okay.
then, of course, yeah, tell me.
No, please go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, that also creates an opportunity for teams to own their metrics on an ongoing basis. Since these metrics are measurable, then it can help you determine, okay, so I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna be measured by this. And then you have your steps to do it. And of course, there comes the the prioritization. What should I do first? But before I delve into that, I just want to mention for a second, one metric that matter. I want to say it's not equal, but it's similar to the logic of OKRs. I know I didn't mention that, but I want to just like make a parenthesis on that because I think it's really important. As I mentioned earlier, the North Star doesn't change. But beneath that, you can have the other, the one metric that matters. For example, it could be, again, like I mentioned, right? Number of stars that the customer is giving me. Let's say I want to improve 4 to 5, just 1 point on the customer satisfaction. Or I don't know, sales or marketing, or let's say awareness. I want to improve our brand awareness. So you take those KPIs to again measure and see if you're improving through something that you're doing. And it could be a team that does that. So for example, these are just example. You have the growth, marketing, sales, or customer service, or even development. And you can have the time frame of, it could be a quarter or 2 to 6 months. Yeah. Again, like I don't want to be too strict, because in my experience, I've tried that, being strict. So for example, we are gonna achieve that in a quarter. But again, it could be like there may be too many objectives and too many things to measure. So you really want to narrow what you want to achieve. again, like the coordination depends on each organization. So,
So I have a question there. Basically, what we are saying is that we have the North Star that is kind of leading, right, the complete organization. And then for each team, as if or rather, as we are seeing here on this diagram, we have this one metric that matters, right? And then that means that for each particular period of time that somebody is defining, or I don't know, maybe it's filling it or has a framework for it, but then the team will focus on one of these metrics only. Is it like that, or that would be like the best practice? So each team would have this metric that matters that drive us to the North Star, and then they can change it. Am I interpreting this correctly? Is it like that, or is it like a team can have more than one metric that matters, that in the end pushes to the North
yeah,
Star?
again, yeah, it depends, right? It depends on the size of the project or the what you want to do. So it changes. So as you mentioned, so for example, oh, I have a few examples. But if that team wanna do something like an experimentation or they have an idea, then they measure that with one metric or even two or three, and they say, you know, this is going to, based on the resources that I have, this is gonna take 3 months or 4 months or 3 months. Yeah, so yeah, that's the answer. And yeah, again, to be honest, the coordination depends on each organization. It is similar to OKRs in the sense of having a specific goal and a key result to measure it. But in the OKRs, you have like typically a quarter to do so. However, it depends on the size of the goal, the team effort, the focus, the resources available, customer validation, even if it's something new around the product itself. And after all, like you wanna create something that doesn't, you don't want to create something, I mean, that doesn't bring value to value or revenue to your users or to the organization. um and for example, OKRs, Google has used them many times over and over again to grow 10x. It was brought by Intel, but they kind of spread that. There's a ton of information about OKR, so that's why I don't want to get too into it. But you know, in short, it's like having a clear yet not overly detailed objective and measure the outcome. So for example, yeah, so for example, you have here, oh, this is a structure that I propose. You have improve customer satisfaction, increase user engagement, grow premium subscription. So this is an example that I made based on Spotify. Increase daily active user, but you want to be specific with the percentage. By X%, achieve X, increase Y, launch, reduce. So you kind of have a quantifiable way to say, you know, I did this. And it could be you didn't get to the 15%. It doesn't matter, but you did, I don't know, 5%. Okay, then let's go to the next quarter. What's our priority now? You know? But it gives you the clarity to work on something.
Maite, and in terms of, I don't know if there are any specifically in the North Star metric. In terms of challenges, have you faced any risk by focusing too heavily on this metric or anything as such? Like personally for you and your products?
Yeah, for example, I had an idea of creating this community with our customer base, but I realized that first it wasn't a project that I couldn't do alone because of all the other work that I have to do. So kind of I have this huge objective, and I said, okay, it's gonna be measured by X, but I realized that again, the risk sometimes you get excited, like, hey, you know, let's do Y, C, and X, you know, but at the end of the day, you need to prioritize what is important. Again, that's why it's important to have this model, because is that community really going to help me right now with the main thing with the North Star? No, that's why probably I left it on the table and not work in depth about it, because actually it didn't help me to get where I wanted to get with the metric that is really important in that moment. Or the submetrics that I have to, to increase. So in our case, well, not right now, because we are tackling that, but when you have, well, how can I say this? So you can build technical debt, and at some point that turns into this mountain that you have on your back. So you need to work on that quickly, because there is certain like you need to provide certain quality to your customers, so that becomes to your priority, right? So sometimes you need to kind of understand where you're at right now in terms of the products, in terms of the business, in terms of your competitors. So one of the main difference with our competitors is our UI and our interface and the user experience. So I cannot leave that like forgotten, if you know what I mean. Because that's our differentiation. So yeah, there's a risk in doing something and not doing another thing. So yeah, that's another subject, but yeah, there's a risk, of course.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
we have again, with my example, we have the team A and the team B. So the team A is more aligned with the model that I presented, right? They know they're gonna move that needle. They know it may be subjective even, but in terms of the organization, they kind of made an analysis about it, check on the data, run a few tests, and realize that, you know what, teammate is a better idea and it's a huge one, so let's work on that, of course, with validation. And it doesn't even just for ideas. For example, let's say you made an onboarding for a customer, right? And it's a B2B product, and since it's a new product, then you realize that you have to work on a few requirements of the customer, because B2B, it's not like B2C in terms of they have different realities and they work on their own basis, their own operation. Like, this is the way I work, and I don't care if the other company works that way, but this is my way, so please make this happen. And you have to kind of think about, is this going to represent for me value for my other customers, or is this one I work just for that specific customer? So let's say, yeah, it works. Let's say requirement ABC works for the other customer, so for my whole customer base. So again, it can work not only on new ideas, but also in the cases of things that you have to work on, because you have a list of tons to do in that was born of that onboarding that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. So this is an example. This is actually a real example, but not in the wellness products, not the onboarding one, but this one. So as you can see, the ICE, meaning the impact that is having on our users, the confidence, there is this tool called the confidence meter by Itamar Aguilar. Is really good, really, really good. Because sometimes it could be subjective, but if you can have a certain criteria, even criteria and the criteria, in this case, the confidence meter, for you to have, for example, evidence, you have, again, like a research, you have made surveys, or you run an MVP, or you have that validation of your customer base, of your users. And then you have ease or effort. Ease, of course, in the level of the in this case, development team. So they say, you know what, that is a learning process. I need to first do research about it because I don't understand that. I don't know how AI works. I don't know. But in terms of how easy is that task to do. And then you have the score, and that's it. The highest score wins, and that's what we're gonna do first on the list. In this case, in this example, is a one-time password login through WhatsApp. So instead of using an email, you're gonna get the one-time password on WhatsApp. And that's gonna have a big impact because in this market, all of the users have WhatsApp. And then the confidence, because we tested with the testing environment with a bunch of users, and that gave us a lot of confidence. And the ease, it wasn't that hard because we're using an API not with WhatsApp or their partners, but with another one that it makes it more easier with their API. So that's why it's a little high, and that means that means we're gonna work on that first. And then there is show savings through a countdown. That's for the customers. I mean, in this case, for the restaurant. And then add a chatbot for the store. It doesn't have a lot of confidence because it hasn't been tested. We don't know the value that it's gonna bring for sure. And then the ease is not that easy to do. And then, of course, it has the lowest score. That is an example.
So then for this framework, it involves some testing. Yeah, that's my question. Like, do you test this previously, or all of them, or just some of them, or how does it work? The confidence part.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't put here the confidence meter. I can mention about it, but you can look for it. So if it's near 0, it's just like self-conviction. It's like, no, I know this is going to work. Just like really subjective. And then you do a pitch deck. No, this is gonna work because ABC. And then there is support because aligns with the vision and the strategy, and kind of you have a little bit of research, the trends, the methodology, and still 0, the confidence to do so. And then there's others' opinion, and it's like still 0, like 0.5, 0.2, I don't know. And you have like the team, the stakeholders, management, and everyone thinks it's a great idea. Like, for example, when Google, do you remember? I'm mentioning a lot of Google because I like to read success or even failure stories. When Facebook was a boom, it's still huge, but it was huge during, I don't know, 5 years ago. They created Google Plus, I think it was called, like this social network, but it didn't have a lot of adoption. They spent a lot of resources, like 2,000 people to work on that, and they were just like planning and executing, but they were sure that it was gonna work, but it didn't have the results that they wanted because, of course, it was near to 0, the confidence. It was just a pitch deck, the support, everyone thought it was a great idea. You have the planning, maybe an evidence, some kind of evidence, like anecdotal evidence. But it didn't work because they didn't have like the problem and the solution, right? It sounds really obvious, really, but they were desperate to do something because, again, they they felt threatened by Facebook at that moment, at that second. Now they don't care, of course, but now it's with AI the whole story. But yeah, that's a good example. And then you have the mid-low, that is the market data, and that's like supported again by surveys, tests, competitors, and you can compare with that. Kind of what's working and what's not working, but that's mid-low still. Maybe like 3. And then when you get to 5 is when you have, again, like you mentioned, testing. You launch an MVP, or for example, or a beta or alpha. And you have this, or prototype, right? You have this prototype, and you understand that there's this user pain points. You know your personas, you know what we're dealing with. I read also about this case of this tiny product, tiny solution, but I thought it was awesome because it was for realtors. It was just like this QR code that helped them kind of schedule their appointments with their prospects. But he was having adoption, and that was interesting because he was providing value to their users in this particular niche, which was realtors. And it was interesting to see um because it was this one feature, one product, you know what I mean? It wasn't like this huge monster of code of product. It was just like something really narrow and really specific to launch to that market. So that's kind of an experiment, right? And you have that, you retrieve that information, and you know that's a high. So that gives you like a high confidence to work on something.
Right.
So yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And okay, I don't know if we have are we good on time? If for me to
Yeah, we have 12 more minutes.
Oh, awesome. Okay, got it. So that leads me to ecosystem strategies. Okay, so you've heard about strategies and how they kind of help the entire, again, organization to achieve something. It's not like the goal, right? But it's the how, the how. So again, as you can read here, they can guide us. To be fully honest with you, there are a few discussions about strategies because some can say, the strategy affects the whole operation of the business. And someone can say, no, that's like the strategy is just the how of getting somewhere in particular, like I mentioned earlier, right? So for example, we can say this could be a strategy. We're gonna increase the daily active users by 50%, and that's gonna help me increase user engagement. And that's my strategy. Okay. Or, someone can say, I'm gonna tell an example in a second so you can understand what I'm saying. But others propose that it should make the course, again, for the entire direction of the business. So keep that in mind for a second. And in terms of the ecosystem, it encompass the whole areas that your business touch. And that's why I put partnership in terms of, like I mentioned before, the partners that are around to the company. I'm gonna bring Google once again because I have it in my mind. But for example, again, they discontinued Jamboard. So they said, why not partner with Miro board or with, these boards that are really familiar. So instead of just competing there because we don't want to do so, let's integrate with them. And just every time we have like someone has a meeting through Meets, then they can use those words because I don't want to be there anymore. So let's think about our partners. We're gonna keep delivering value to our customer base, but not through my product, but their product, because they're growing more than we are. So I don't care. That's just an example. And then of course you have technology, innovation, and you have all these parts. These just are examples that kind of unite the whole ecosystem of that goes around the products and the value that you're providing and the value captured. But before that, before takeoff, it is recommended to have like a well-founded understanding about what's happening around in the market. So there are a few frameworks, actually a ton of frameworks, like business frameworks. So you have, for example, the business model canvas or the lean canvas. You have the SWOT analysis, the PESTEL analysis, competitive analysis, and even competitive analysis, you have like a bunch of kind of ways you can go. So for example, you can focus on pricing, or you can focus on branding, or like or value, even, to be able to compare yourself with the other ones that are in that industry. So to work on a strategy, you need to know about your product, know about your, again, like the whole mission and vision, and again, know about the market, the business, and the users. And here is one of the best known examples about strategy. So this strategy is based on what I told you about, that it kind of revolve around the whole operation. So it's about the case of the Southwest Airlines. So they said, you know what? There are competitors, like a lot of competitors. What can we do to be different? And they sat down and said, what if we do this? What if we do that? And I'm just inventing this, of course. I don't know how it happened, but the strategy is the low-cost strategy. Okay, so I said, we are gonna provide to the world this option that is a lot cheaper to other options. Okay, and they started to kind of work on the every side of the operation, and said, in the sense of, for example, sales, we're gonna do direct to consumer. We're gonna reduce those distribution costs, and we're gonna encourage the customers to go through the website and then purchase the tickets through our website instead of them going to a third-party booking website, because of the fees, because it brings the direct sales that I mentioned. And the key result, like the general key result, of course, there may be more, is increase direct sales and reduce distribution costs, right? And then, for example, another objective is reduce maintenance and operational costs. So what they did at that moment was to use a single aircraft type, just one. It was Boeing 737 for all flights, which again simplifies maintenance and operations. And you have, the other airlines were using, I don't know, aircraft type. I don't know about aircraft, but the huge type, the medium and the smaller size. And they said, you know what, we're gonna use just one, and kind of streamline those processes to maintain the airplanes and keep it low. And the key result is lower maintenance costs and increased operational efficiency. And then you have like other bunch of objective and strategies and key results. But in this case, as you can see, they said we're gonna kind of penetrate the market through this strategy, and that's how we're going to differentiate from every other competitor. So that's gonna be our strategy. And it's a huge success case for us to kind of see around, yeah. Do you have any questions?
I mean, I think these strategies are pretty smart, right? Like using a
Right.
single aircraft type. That's genius. So how long do you think these sessions to create these strategies last? I mean, like based on your experience, is it like a session that they have every week, or is it like a war room and then nobody goes out until we have the strategies? How would companies this size or any size for this matter work on these strategies, and who would be part of that meeting, let's say? What can
I
you
would
tell us
say,
about that?
yeah, no, I
Mhm.
would say first, alignment is key. Like alignment is key for to be able to achieve something. Because, and again, it depends because the startup is small. You have um a small team. You kind of can over communicate it without effort. But in the case of, you know, I don't know, these huge companies that have like lots of employees, and it's a little bit harder to communicate that because they have all of this, I don't know, the VP, the senior VP, the director, the associate director, and then you have the manager, and you so on and so on. Entonces you have this hierarchy that you have to like to follow, and you give like that responsibility to the one, the head of the area. Um, the Nvidia CEO that right now is really like famous. So he has like these great practices, and he follows like an horizontal style to I mean, as a leader. So what he does is, it's not like this, but it's more like this. So he kind of maintains and give a lot of empowerment to these key heads, so that way, again, like it really depends, one, of the size of the company, because you will need a variety of channels of communication. um because if it's small, then it is easy, but if it's like a big organization, then you're gonna need channels to do so. And that's the first part. um and then among the stakeholders, in the case of a medium or even bigger company, you will need to, like I mentioned earlier, have that alignment. You need to have that alignment. Everyone has to agree with that, because they're gonna pull on different directions, and you don't want that. Um, Again, before the strategy, you will need to have where we wanna be. Where we wanna be. Do we want to be the best airline? Do we want to be the most prettiful airline? But where do we want to be? I mean, first there must be clarity about where we're heading. And then in terms of time that you asked, and it also depends, because it could be a strategy that, which I mentioned before, um it could, where is it, that you have and a specific one. This is where I want to get, and this is how I'm going to do it, like the how. Okay. But in this case, and this size of a strategy involve probably years of work on this, because I don't know, selling the other aircraft, because they let's say they had other type of airplanes and they were gonna get rid of those. So you need like a time frame to do so. You need to have like organization and all of this coordination to prepare for this. So it's not like a quarter, I'm gonna get rid of this and use a single aircraft. Another thing that they did, for example, is like point to point, instead of having like a lot of like routes to do. They said, no, I'm just gonna do point to point A to point B, point C to point D, and like specific ones. So you need to kind of let go of something in this case. So I cannot give you a time frame, because again, it depends of the size of the workload that you need to do. Um, I have a mentor. He's awesome. He's amazing. And the last time I spoke to him, he told me, no, I have like a ton more of responsibility, and what I want and what I need to do right now is to replace a whole product, and I have till the end of the year, and I don't have enough resources. It's a medium-sized company, but I don't know why they were not giving him enough resources, but he was like, I need to accomplish that, replace the whole product. And it was achievable at the end of the year. But again, it depends on I don't know the specific of it. But since he knows, it depends on what he knows, like the technical things about it, the 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 team that knows how to do that work. So it really depends. I don't have a time frame, but in the case of OKRs, of course, that's just a quarter. It tends to be just a quarter. Um, um, but in this case, it really depends.
Okay, great. Well, I think we are already over time, but I just want to thank you, Maite. This presentation was pretty well put, and I believe we got to learn about these different techniques. So thank you so much for your time and also for sharing with us your experience. I'm not sure, Gabby, if you want to add anything, or you might before we wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. No, I just wanted to provide wait, let me change this. A short conclusion. I just wanted to mention that with these elements in order, they create an approach that empowers the whole business, organization, or startup, so that can deliver value to their customers and stakeholders. That's like the main conclusion, the shortest one that I could have made. And if you, these were my sources. If you wanna look it up, they're awesome. They're great speakers, and well, Lenny has a podcast and a newsletter, and Sean Ellis is the one that coined the term growth hacking. And yeah, thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure. I had a lot of fun. And if you want to connect with me, this is my email, this is my LinkedIn. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Maite. It was a pleasure, very insightful. I learned a lot. I hope everyone did as well. And then we are back tomorrow with another Tech Social, this time on a Friday, where we will be talking about effective interview techniques. So I'll see you all tomorrow again. Maite, once again, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch through LinkedIn.
Thank you. No. And I would love to measure this. If you reach out and tell me how was my talk and tell me, I really enjoyed it, that will be amazing.
For sure. Yeah, I will share this recording with you as well, so you can also share within your network.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Thank you. It was awesome to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Bye-bye,
thanks so
everyone.
much.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.